Welcome back to the Anti-Federalist Project. I left off last time at the end of the Constitutional Convention, the convention having drafted the new Constitution in September of 1787 and having sent copies to the various state legislatures for ratification, the debate over whether the convention had exceeded its authority and over the merits of the Constitution itself would be debated in a multitude of public forums. While certainly the debate took place in a variety of places, the only statements that have been preserved are the ones which were written down, and those consist primarily of newspapers, state ratifying convention notes, and personal correspondence. Those that had supported the ratification of the new Constitution were able to call themselves Federalists, while these same supporters of the Constitution were able to name their opponents, those who opposed the ratification of the Constitution, as Anti-Federalists. In point of fact, these naming conventions are not particularly accurate. The Anti-Federalists in general supported a federal plan of government where the states would confederate or join together for definitive federal purposes, but retaining their particular state sovereignties, while the Federalists supported a national government that would be superior to the states. And as evidence of this, the Anti-Federalists would point out Article 6 of that same proposed Constitution, quote, "This Constitution and the laws of the United States, which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made or which shall be made under the authority of the United States, shall be the supreme law of the land, and the judges in every state shall be bound thereby, anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to the contrary notwithstanding." So, the Anti-Federalists generally objected to the proposed Constitution, yet, for the most part, they recognized that there were problems with the Articles of Confederation. In the correspondence of Mercy Otis Warren, a notable Anti-Federalist, she writes on September 29, 1787, quote, "Our situation is truly delicate and critical. On the one hand, we are in need of a strong federal government, founded on the principles that will support the prosperity and union of the colonies. On the other, we have struggled for liberty and made costly sacrifices at her shrine, and there are still many among us who revere her name too much to relinquish, beyond a certain medium, the rights of man for the dignity of government." Close quote. Also, the Anti-Federalist, under the pseudonym of Federal Farmer, wrote, quote, "It must, however, be admitted that our federal system is defective." Close quote. So, in my estimation, I don't think that the Anti-Federalists were particularly supportive of the Articles of Confederation. It seems that they even admitted that there were problems with the Articles, but that they saw the Constitution as more fundamentally problematic than the Articles themselves. Luther Martin, one of Maryland's delegates to the Constitutional Convention, one of those who didn't sign the final draft of the Constitution, warned the convention, "The same reasons, quote, the same reasons which you now urge for destroying our present federal government may be urged for abolishing the system which you now propose to adopt. And as the method prescribed by the Articles of Confederation is now totally disregarded by you, as little regard may be shown by you to the rulers prescribed for the amendment of the new system." Close quote. So, it was not lost on the Anti-Federalists that the proposed Constitution was in fact, in a very real sense, illegal. If the historical irony of this does not amuse you a little bit, when contraposed with something like this photo below, then you should go to the doctor right away, because there might seriously be something wrong with your funny bone. One of the most eloquent of the Anti-Federalists, Patrick Henry, objected to the use of the words "we the people" in the preamble of the Constitution. Quote, "What right had they to say, 'we the people'? Who authorized them to speak the language of 'we the people' instead of 'we the states'? If the states be not the agents of this compact, it must be one great consolidated national government of the people of all the states. The people gave them no power to use their name. That they had exceeded their power is perfectly clear." Close quote. He's talking about the Constitutional Convention. In his letters to the New York Journal, the author, using the pseudonym Brutus, who was probably Robert Yates, the politician, judge, and also delegate to the Constitutional Convention, wrote, "The great objects, then, are declared in this preamble in general and indefinite terms, to be to provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and an express power being vested in the legislature to make all laws which shall be necessary and proper for carrying into execution all the powers vested in the general government. The inference is natural that the legislature will have an authority to make all laws which they shall judge necessary for the common safety and to promote the general welfare. This amounts to a power to make laws at discretion. No terms can be found more indefinite than these, and it is obvious that the legislature alone must judge what laws are proper and necessary for the purpose. Close quote. The necessary and proper clause of the Constitution would be one of the most controversial sticking points of the Anti-Federalist contention. If Congress had the power to do whatever was necessary and proper for carrying into execution the foregoing powers, who is going to determine what exactly is necessary and proper? Doesn't this give Congress a license to carry out nearly anything that it itself determines to be necessary and proper? Maybe there's a point there. Well, Mercy Otis Warren, which we met before, writing under the pseudonym of a Colombian patriot, would say in a collection of her writings, I'm kind of mishmashing things here a little bit, but, quote, "The principal aim of society is to protect individuals in the absolute rights which were vested in them by the immediate laws of nature. And the rights of individuals ought to be the primary object of all government. And also, government is instituted for the protection, safety, and happiness of the people." Close quote. And it isn't my opinion that the Anti-Federalists objected to the idea that the general welfare was a legitimate end of government. For even Brutus would say, quote, "The object of every free government is the public good," close quote. But that the public good or general welfare would be best pursued by minimizing the number of rights necessary to be surrendered or alienated in order to promote that general welfare, rather than as a result of a positive effort for the optimization of the general welfare itself. What I think this means for the Anti-Federalists is that it might be possible to appropriately sum up their political perspective with the aphorism which has been attributed variously to both Jefferson and Thoreau, quote, "That government is best which governs least," close quote. Going back to the Anti-Federalist author Brutus, who again most scholars believe to be Robert Yates, the design of civil government is to protect the rights and promote the happiness of the people. For this end, rulers are invested with powers, but we cannot from hence justly infer that these powers should be unlimited. There are certain rights which mankind possess, over which the government ought not to have any control, because it is not necessary they should, in order to attain the end of its institution. There are certain things which rulers should be absolutely prohibited from doing, because if they should do them, they would work an injury, not a benefit to the people." Close quote. And I think it is with this quote that I rest the Anti-Federalist objections to the Constitution. But I would like to point out that both Brutus and Warren make reference to rights and nature. Warren talks about the laws of nature with the absolute rights of individuals, and Brutus speaks of the similar natural rights. And so in pursuit of the essence of the Anti-Federalist ideology, I decided to investigate the philosophical architecture of these natural rights theory of the Anti-Federalists, which is what I intend to discuss next time on the Anti-Federalist Project. Thank you so much for watching.